And welcome back to the Correspondents on Voice of America. I'm Arcega in Washington. The second highest ranking official at North Korea's embassy in London has defected to South Korea. Tae Yong-ho, minister at the North Korean embassy in London, is now in South Korea with his family and is under the protection of the South Korean government, according to Seoul's Unification Ministry. A ministry spokesman says that Tae Yong-ho decided to defect because of his disgust with the government of North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. He also expressed a yearning for democracy and said he was worried about the future of his children. But that's not the only issue that brings North Korea back in the news. And to help us sort out the latest developments there, we are joined once again in Washington by VOA senior diplomatic correspondent Steve Herman, along with the host of VOA's Asia Weekly program, Steve Miller. Thank you both for joining us. Stephen, you covered Asia for decades as bureau chief there. I know there have been previous defections, but how embarrassing is this one for Kim Jong-un?
It's definitely an embarrassment. These defections are relatively rare, but they have happened before. It's not unprecedented. It's a major intelligence coup for South Korea, which can glean all sort of information out of someone at this high level from the north, because despite all the resources that Seoul puts into intelligence about Pyongyang, it really does not have deep sources there at such a high level.
So this could be a boon for Western intelligence?
Oh, absolutely. There's no doubt about it.
What kind of information could we possibly glean from a high-level diplomat such as Tae Yong-ho?
He will be able to explain the rivalries that go on in Pyongyang. We all tend to think of North Korea as this monolithic structure, and yes, Kim Jong-un is the leader, is the one who's in charge, but below him there are definitely rivalries, and sometimes those rivalries end with fatal consequences. So that will be very important for the intelligence agencies.
Steve Miller, I know you've been writing about this for a number of weeks now, some of the power structure changes in North Korea as well. Obviously, Pyongyang didn't see this one coming.
No, I think it surprised a lot of people. I mean, even journalist colleagues that I know who have interviewed Mr. Tae were really surprised. They've often quoted him as being eloquent and very knowledgeable about North Korea and
Europe. He was seen as a loyalist.
Very much so, and his father served with Kim Il-sung during the Second World War, fought against the Japanese. His other family members still in North Korea are very high-ranking in different elements of society. He's thought to be part of that elite caste. And
Stephen, do you think this high-level defection tells us anything at all about Kim Jong-un's leadership or perhaps his grip on power?
What we do know from speaking to people in the intelligence community and defectors is that Kim Jong-un feels he must live up to and exceed the reputation of his father and grandfather. And to do that as such a young leader, someone who is seen as inexperienced, he needs to rule with an iron fist. He needs to demonstrate to the West that I am someone to be reckoned with. And that is why we are seeing the increased capabilities and research about ballistic missiles and nuclear weapons. He is not looking to try to negotiate. He is looking to be taken as a nuclear leader.
Steve Miller, do you think that's part of the calculus, the fact that he has to constantly compare himself with his predecessors?
Well, if you recall, when he assumed power back in late part of 2012, sure, 2013, that was one of the big questions a lot of analysts have, is what kind of leader is he going to be? Is his inexperience truly going to hamper him? I mean, is it going to be the generals that are going to be truly running the country, or can he exert that control? And I think over time, if you look at the decisions of trying to cull perhaps some rivalry within the leadership, he's trying to really rein that in.
Does this explain then the new revelations that we're hearing about Pyongyang's plutonium production at a facility that is supposedly illegal, that the UN has already said you can't do?
Well, I mean, from day one, he's always said he's going to continue his father's process to try and make and get the respect that he thinks North Korea deserves as a nuclear power. So that hasn't changed at all. And I think if you look at now, he's trying to have that dual track purpose of economic policy and military policy, right, to carry out his grandfather's vision.
The restart reprocessing was no surprise. Both the intelligence community and the IAEA earlier this year had said that this was going on at the Yongbyong facility. It is a violation of the UN Security Council resolutions, the latest in a long list of violations.
There have been many violations, but in spite of all these violations, in spite of all the sanctions that the UN Security Council seems to impose every time Pyongyang announces something like this, we seem to be powerless to do anything about it.
I think his father gave him two pieces of primary advice before he took over. One was, you must be in absolute control. Once in a while, you even need to purge someone who's loyal to you to demonstrate that no one can be ever secure under the leader of North Korea. And the second is to never show weakness to the West, and to keep up the rhetoric and to back up that rhetoric with programs that is the only leverage that North Korea is ever going to have. It has no other leverage besides its ballistic missiles and nuclear weapons.
Steve Miller, how much leverage does North Korea actually have? I mean, do they have weapons capable of striking our targets?
Well, it depends on what you mean our targets. There are certain medium and long-range missiles that they have. There's debate over how accurate they can be over great distance. Certainly they can strike targets in South Korea and the immediate vicinity. The decision really is, will Kim Jong-un and the military choose to do that? Because if they choose to do anything more than, say, a limited strike like Yongbyong Island in South Korea, that incurs response from the West, and that could be very detrimental to Kim's leadership.
Stephen, all of this saber rattling from Pyongyang, do they not realize that they run the risk as well of destroying their very own country? Why doesn't MED, mutually assured destruction, seem to work against the North Koreans?
Well, you look at the destruction that occurred during the Korean War, 3 years, and North Korea survived, despite immense destruction. And there are specialists who believe that even if North Korea were to be hit by nuclear weapons, that they have created literally an underground government structure that they could survive perhaps for years. So even a full-scale war is no guarantee that North Korea could be taken out. But they're in this for the long haul, and they have shown time and time again. They have a playbook going back more than 60 years. We have to remember, in Seoul, in Washington, that the administrations change every 4 years, but they have been consistent and have learned how to play the West and the South Koreans over many decades.
Steve Miller's been talking about this for a long time. I wish I had more time to talk about this. It's been very enlightening. Thank you so much, Steve Miller and Stephen Herman. We're going to take another break right now, but when we come back, we go to Rio for a last correspondence look at the games of the 31st Olympiad. But just a reminder, we want to hear from you. Share your thoughts, questions, and comments on our Facebook page. The address is VOA The Correspondents. We'll be right back.